This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Monday, March 6, 2006, and this is episode number 70 of Walt Disney World Today. I'm Matt Hochberg from MGMstudios.org. On the panel today, we have everyone's favorite Live 365 host, Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, Matt. How you doing today?
Outstanding. And we also have the angriest man in Disney World podcasting, Len Testa of the Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World. Welcome, Len.
It's more of a chafing than an actual irritation, but go ahead.
And we have a man who says he's proud not to go to Animal Kingdom, Mike Scopa of MousePlanet.com. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, Star Command picked a fine time to send new recruits.
That's very fitting because we do have a new recruit on today's show. We're actually being invaded by Mouse Planet. They're taking over our podcast today. We've got Mark Goldhaber of MousePlanet.com. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Thanks. Hey there, hi there, ho there.
Well, today we've brought on Mark Goldhaber to discuss the intricacies of writing his weekly column. Mark, why don't you first tell some of our listeners who may not be familiar with your column what your column is and what the scope of it is. Give us the whole rundown of it.
Well, the column that I'm probably most known for is my weekly Walt Disney World update that appears every Monday at MousePlanet.com. I also write occasional Worldview columns and write for our Business of Magic column as well. In fact, next week I'll have a column going up about the annual shareholder meeting that's occurring on Friday. But the Walt Disney World update basically gives what's going on at Walt Disney World, what's new. We keep track of what refurbishments are going on at various parks and resorts, upcoming park events. We keep track of some of the discounts that are going on, give park hours and so forth. And that comes to you every week.
Right. Probably, I think, what the most difficult thing that people don't understand about the work that you do for gathering information for your column every week is that, sometimes it sounds like it's a very easy job just to go around Walt Disney World and see what's new, quote unquote. But a lot of that work there's more than that that's involved in your column, getting the information on a weekly basis. And it's more than just looking for construction walls. Is that right, Mark?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's kind of hard to look for construction walls from upstate New York. My glasses don't enable me to see quite that far. But a lot of the time I get information from people who are working down there. Sometimes I get stuff from people who are vacationing down there. A lot of the news and stuff I'll pick up from various other sources, and then I have to take all that, put it together, figure out what's actually going on, what of the information that's being fed to me is actually valid and what is not. We actually did let something through that we shouldn't have about a month ago.
What was that, Mark?
We got hoaxed by somebody that
was it
got
Pirates?
The Pirates refurbishment. Somebody put together a hoax flyer that was supposedly being going to be handed out once the attraction closed, and because it came to us through various channels, and it first came to me from somebody else at Mouse Planet who had gotten it from somebody
Scopa.
No.
Yeah.
It actually
an inside job, yeah.
It actually was through somebody on the West Coast. But apparently this is somebody who has pulled a number of scams before, and I actually got an email from somebody telling me that this person had actually scammed them on something through eBay. So this is a person who apparently is a regular hoaxster, and we got burned. So we do our best to make sure that the stuff that is not true doesn't get into the update. But every once in a while we do miss something and it gets in there. Also, every once in a while I take educated guesses on what might happen based on some of the information that's coming my way, and I guess wrong, such as when I predicted that they would be dropping the MGM out of the name of the Studios park based on various indicators in a number of different locations, and they must have signed a deal with Sony to keep the MGM name on the park. And so actually in the update being published today, I do have a concession that I was wrong.
Well, I'm sure that's usually the exception rather than the rule of some of these mistakes that go through anyway.
We try to keep it that way. I mean, I spend a lot of time trying to double-check my sources, and if something is a rumor or a guess, I do label it as such. So I did, in fact, label the MGM being removed from the name as a guess, but still, I guess, wrong. So
yeah, it's okay. You can always just blame Scopa anyway. That's what we do when we're wrong.
Yeah,
No
really.
respect.
It's amazing what you can do with Photoshop these days.
Speaking of what you're going along, Mark, where's the line that you draw when it comes to separating credible from rumor?
Well,
I mean, is it the source that you get it from? Is it how much you hear about it? I mean, what goes into it?
it's kind of a combination because each individual factor varies depending on what the rumor's about, where the source is coming from, and so forth. I mean, if I'm getting information from 2 or 3 different cast members that, even though it's not on the update schedule on the Walt Disney World website, that a certain attraction is going to be closed in a certain time period, then I'm going to say, okay, you know, these people are getting it out of the internal system, and if the internal system says it, even if it's not public yet, I'm going to put it out there. For example, I've gotten information from multiple sources now that Pirates will be reopening for a period of time in April, even though on the Walt Disney World website it's showing closed from now through the end of June. Now, the dates that it's going to open in April are open for question right now. I've heard one source say that it's actually going to be open from the 1st to the 30th, but I have not confirmed that yet. But that is a possibility. So in this week's update, I do have a note that we're hearing that it's going to be the whole month of April, but we haven't been able to confirm it. So I'm putting the information out there, but letting people know that it's not solid as far as I'm concerned yet.
Mark, I got to guess that Pirates of the Caribbean are probably going to be opened during those weeks, which they'll have grad night, probably the last 2 weeks in April. That would be my guess.
Well, also remember they want to get the Easter crowds through there.
Right.
But basically, I 3 weeks ago, I think, I had in the update information about what is actually going to be done in each of the phases of the refurb. So the first part, while it's open for this month, they're just going to be doing upgrades to the flume and the ride system, lights, speakers, touching up some of the existing audio animatronic figures. Nothing that people are going to notice is any different. So when it's going to open up in April, people are going to say, you know, hey, it's been closed for a month. I'm not really seeing a whole lot of difference. Then after it closes after the April crowd, then they're going to go and do the insertion of the Jack Sparrow and Barbossa animatronics and a projection effect Davy Jones. So that stuff is going to be done after the April opening.
Hey, Mark, have you heard any any confirmation or rumors about them replacing the you know Carlos, the mayor of that town who's dunked in the well? Is there any truth to the rumor that they're going to replace that audio animatron with one of Len Testa?
Oh, yeah, don't tell him, man! Don't tell him! I am not cheating!
Actually, they're not going
I'll throw in the occasional, I'm not Mike Scopa!
Actually,
Nice.
they're not going to change the animatronic, but they are going to change the story there a little bit.
Been weeks, Mark, where there's like nothing to report.
Those are the terrible weeks. As a matter of fact, the week that I was down at Walt Disney World for the Expedition Everest preview, I was down there, and first of all, I was running from sun up to sundown between doing Everest and a whole bunch of other stuff, and then getting back to the hotel room and trying to come up with stuff for the update and just not having anything. And if you remember, that update had virtually nothing in it. It had like 3 little things that really didn't have much of anything in it. And I got an email from somebody, "Oh, nice update." And it's like, sue me, there's no news.
Thanks. Yeah, really.
Yeah, let me see. I had one story, like a 2-sentence thing that the sneak previews went well, and an ears to the ground that President Bush was going to be at Republican fundraiser at the Contemporary on February 17th, so beware of traffic. And that was it, in addition to the refurbishments and all the other weekly stuff that I get to maintain.
What's the difference between ears to the ground and the normal part of your column? What differentiates it?
I've kind of dropped the ears to the ground thing because I've changed the way that I'm doing it. It used to be that I tried to put all the rumors and stuff that was more hearsay than news reportage in the ears to the ground section to differentiate it. But I found that a lot of the just normal news stuff really didn't need more than a sentence, and a lot of the rumor stuff sometimes needed a full story. So I've changed it now, and the quick takes at the bottom are actually now going to be labeled quick takes.
Interesting.
So Mark, like things like the hotel rehabs that you have, they're not available on either the regular Disney site, even the Disney travel agent site. Where do those come from?
Sometimes I get that from people that are staying at the resorts. Sometimes I do get it fed to me by travel agents, and some stuff I get actually through the Polynesian and Contemporary. I first got that out of a convention planning or some kind of planning site that had some kind of article that every week I go through and I search for Walt Disney World stuff throughout the internet, trying to find clues to what's happening. And you find stuff in the strangest places. I found a construction company press release about how they had gotten the bid on constructing a new roadway on Walt Disney World property.
Right.
And following up on all that, I ended up tracing that down to being the connector road that goes to the new Western Beltway that they're building. And by tracing it through that company and a bunch of other places, I was able to get an estimate of when the construction was going to take place and so forth. So some of it is just, dogging the stuff and tracking it down, and other stuff is it drops in my lap. It comes from all sorts of different ways, and there's really no consistency. It's just hours and hours every week of spending trying to find this stuff, and some weeks I have more stuff that I can write up, and other weeks I've got next to nothing. And sometimes I'm sitting there with the raw material, just staring at it, trying to will it into a digestible format so that I can actually put it on in the file. And
wait, are we talking about Scopus column, or are we talking about the updates? Did we transition here?
No.
So will it into a digestible format. If that doesn't describe the creative writing process, really, I don't know what does. But go ahead.
Yeah, I'll tell you. God bless my copy editor. I mean, sometimes I get stuff to Lonnie really late because I just have not been able to put it into some kind of format until the last minute when it's like, okay, I don't care, here's the information, and sometimes she has to clean it up. Usually it goes through pretty much as I write it, but every once in a while I send her something that's gibberish and she makes me look good. So I really appreciate having Lonnie there to take a look and make sure that I don't embarrass myself too much.
Have you ever gotten, Mark, or not rather, I'm sure you have, but what percentage of news or rumors do you get from cast members?
It varies.
Do you have regular sources that are cast members, or does it kind of like, is it totally random, like you'll get an email one day?
Well, sometimes I have regular sources that will feed me stuff on an ongoing basis, and other times I have other cast members that I hear from once every 2 or 3 months. One of my sources, unfortunately, is not at Walt Disney World anymore. But any cast member that has sent me stuff, a lot of the time they are a little nervous about contacting me because they're afraid that I'm going to use their name. It's like, rule 1: if you send me stuff, I am not going to reveal your identity because I don't want to put you in any kind of uncomfortable place. So any cast members out there that want to send me stuff, please, by all means, I appreciate anything that you want to send me. And like I said, sometimes I get stuff on a regular basis. Sometimes it's hey, I just found this out. Thought you might be interested in it. I've gotten stuff from people in merchandise, in attractions, in guest services, in resorts, in entertainment. So, whoever has information that is solid and isn't going to play around with me. I mean, if somebody goes and they give me some information that's bad, and then they give me more information that's bad, I'm going to take that with a different level of confidence than I do somebody that tells me stuff and every time it's spot on accurate. So, even the cast member sources, you have to make sure that you figure out how often they are accurate. The old stories of, what the bus driver told me? They're putting in a new roller coaster park themed around villains. You always, cast member rumors start and spread like wildfire, and it's the cast members that actually get the good information and are sure of what they're sending me before they send it that I really appreciate, because when I get stuff from them, I know it's good and I can run with it. So some weeks I get a bunch of stuff from 3 different cast members. Other weeks I get nothing. It's hit and miss. And as far as percentage of the overall stuff, again, that also varies.
Having said that, Mark. Having said all that, I hope. I think it would probably be a good idea for you to tell everybody if anyone, like a cast member, is out there listening and would like to provide you with information. Why don't you let everybody know what your email is, and hopefully
Sure.
It'll help you in your update.
Yeah, cast members or people who are down there and see stuff, anybody that's got some good information, if you want to send it to me, mark@mouseplanet.com. I'm always happy to hear from anybody. Usually I will reply to every note unless I get flooded like I did this week. But when people send me information, I like to acknowledge it and to thank them. And if stuff comes from cast members, again, your identity is safe. I'm not going to tell anybody because I don't want you to get in trouble. But me stuff. This week I got flooded. I asked in my update last week for people to just let me know whether I actually had the stuff that they were looking for in the update, or if they were looking for different information, or if I had stuff that they really didn't care about. And I got like over 50 emails just on that, and I just couldn't answer every one of them individually, but it was really gratifying because more than half of them said, "Don't change a thing."
That's always good.
No changing.
Which normally when you go out and you're writing stuff on the internet, 90% of the stuff you get back is complaints or corrections, hey, you got this wrong. So for half the people to write back and say, don't change anything, and of the other half, most of them said, it's wonderful, I love it, just I would love to see this too. It was really gratifying to get that kind of feedback.
Great. And your column, Mark, can be found at mouseplanet.com/Mark, is that right?
Not anymore, not since the redesign.
Okay. How can they reach your column?
The Walt Disney World update, if you go to mouseplanet.com, the most recent update is always going to be on that front page.
And it's published every Monday, right, Mark?
The update is published every Monday. And if you want to go back through the history, there is a link on the left side that says WDW Park Update. So that'll give you a list of all of the updates going back however many years it is. And then, again, on the front page under current articles, we always have at least 1 week's worth of articles there. So whatever the previous Monday is, it'll be there. And since this show is being published on a Monday, there's a fresh one out today.
Excellent. Well, that's it for us today. This has been episode number 70 of Walt Disney World Today. Mark Goldhaber, thanks for being on the show. It's been a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, my pleasure.
We're going to have you back at some point, I'm sure, to tell us more stories about Scopa and other ththings that are interesting in the world of Mouse Planet.
Just don't show them pictures, Mark.
I'd be happy. Well, I didn't take a picture at the very Merry Christmas party when you got Twitter baited.
I got who?
Ooh.
Well,
when your favorite walked by as we were standing in Fantasyland.
Oh, that's right.
I didn't get a picture of that. That would have been a blackmail photo.
Yeah, well, we'll have to tell that story. Mark is, for those of you who don't know, Mark was referring to my lust for Belle.
Well, if you want to find older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments, visit the Walt Disney World Today website at www.wdwtoday.com. You can also email us at questions@wdwtoday.com. For Len Testa, Mike Scopa, and Mike Newell, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.